Good morning, everyone. We gather today to hear the call of trust. Though our hearts have been bruised by broken promises and dreams deferred, may we listen again for that longing to repair and to be repaired, that hunger to start anew. Like this flame, trust is something that needs to be rekindled again and again. May today spark the fire of a new match. So now is the time when I'm going to see if the kids were paying attention, and also I'm going to see if I really wanted what I asked them to do, or maybe I don't. So we'll see. We'll see if they remember what I asked. So I told this story sometime last year, and I'm only one person. I only have so many stories, so sometimes they get repeated, but for different purposes. So I told the story last year of sitting down next to a woman at an interfaith gathering many years ago, and being asked by this black woman from the Baptist faith what Unitarian Universalists actually believed. And if you recall from that story, we only had about 30 seconds till the program started. So I had to try to sum up things pretty quickly. And so in that moment, what I came up with was, well, ours is not a faith that tells you what to believe or what is true. We place the burden for searching for what is true and meaningful on each individual. To which you may recall she replied, "That is terrifying." Right as the program began, so that was where that story ends, right? So the world we find ourselves living in today is complex. And we all believe in some sort of explanation to help us make sense of it all. We have to put our faith in something, right? Faith or science or something. Christians tend to put their faith in the professed teachings of the prophet Jesus Christ and in a promise of everlasting life. Do the right things now. Life might be great, but you'll get everlasting life somewhere else. Buddhists place their faith in the idea of interconnectedness and always having availability of the breath to bring ourselves back to that reminder that we are all connected. Muslims place their faith in the 5 pillars of Islam, wisdom that was shared by the Prophet Muhammad and became what is known as the Quran. And one of those pillars is actually generosity, which is exactly the same as one of our new democratically created values, right? Generosity is one of those values. The expectation in Islam is that you contribute 2.5% of your wealth to those that are more needy than you. That's part of their intentional spiritual practice. Which is interesting because the Catholics ask for 10%. And I think the Muslims might benefit to consult with John and Rick to help with the importance of stewardship. Those folks help us out, figure that stuff out here pretty well. Anyway, I focus on Islam because yesterday was the beginning of the holy period for our Muslim siblings called Ramadan, a period of fasting and reflection for Muslims around the world, the point of which is to achieve greater consciousness and connection to God. And I know several Muslims. And one of the things that is compelling about their faith is that it's tangible, and they practice it intentionally, with prayers daily, 5 times a day, and an ever-present, tangible commitment of generosity in their lives. And this challenging annual spiritual journey, which each month when Ramadan happens, they spend the entire sunlit day fasting and praying and reflecting, and then having joy when that fast is broken at the end of the night and reconnecting with family. Each Muslim I have met, honestly, has felt like a healthy, grounded, well-intentioned individual. I think this is one way that Islam and Christianity and Judaism and Buddhism all tend to work a little bit better than ours on the surface, right? Each of those faiths is very clear with folks about what you need to do. None of them is passive. You don't have to follow those things, but if you profess to follow those faiths, they give you a roadmap of what to do. And it's the same with this faith, but I just don't think we emphasize that point enough. And so that's what I hope to do here today. is to remind you that this faith, just like all faiths, only works if you work it. Ours is a democratically determined faith tradition, currently guided by a set of aspirational values based upon a set of guiding principles. We come together to practice this faith in a place called church, a word that's weird for some people to even wrap their heads around. A place we intentionally gather each week to be reminded of our highest aspirations. A safe place to practice the elements of our professed faith. Ours is a covenantal faith based upon voluntary commitments we make to ourselves and to each other. From our opening song this morning, Come Yet Again Come, there's a decant that is not included in the hymnal that is from the original Rumi speaking, that says, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, come yet again come. Even though you've screwed up, and you've screwed up again and again and again and again, keep coming. We will keep being here for you. It's a beautiful, beautiful reflection. We don't expect you in this faith to be perfect. We know that you're going to screw up because you're human. It's what we do. We're all doing the best that we can. And we know that we will mess up. But we are committed to keep showing up and continually just trying to do better. Come yet again, come. The UU faith tradition is grounded in a set of principles and values. This is our foundation. This is the foundation of this faith. It relies on each of us to hold up these values that we profess, to live them into the world, to live them into being. For our faith to be strong enough to support us when times get hard, as we heard that they are currently getting hard, we really do need to live values-guided lives. The good news is, from what I've seen in my short time here, this community has historically done that. What this community, I think, is working on now is learning how to transfer some of those learnings from the people that have been here for a long time, from your successes, to the next generation of seekers. Because it doesn't just happen. We're not wired to just sort of automatically show up and help our monkey friends get from one side of the danger to the other. We have to learn these things. We put the burden on the individual. What do you think of that as a foundation of a faith tradition? Do you think it's terrifying? A democracy is made up of individuals, each expressing their best guess about the best way for us to move forward collectively. Do you watch the news and occasionally wonder if that really is a good idea? Or is democracy made up of a bunch of individuals on their own journeys searching for what is true? Is that occasionally terrifying in practice? Truth be told, this experiment in self-governance founded in the Enlightenment-grounded concept of self-determination is sometimes kind of frightening. Our form of government puts we the people at the top of the org chart. And we've entrusted then everyone, all of our neighbors, all of them, every one of our neighbors with the exact level of control that we entrust ourselves with. One vote. And we take all those individual, supposedly self-directed folks, and we tally up their best guesses about who should be granted power to make decisions on our behalf and to determine what our laws should be. And then we go back to our lives and just hope that we and the majority of our neighbors have chosen wisely. What happens to our faith in a system when it seems the system is no longer calibrated to our collective best interests? Does this create a crisis of faith within ourselves? Does the ground that we've built our foundation on turn out to be not stable enough to actually support our visions? Honestly, I think not. I think it simply calls upon us to live into our faith more strongly than ever. I think it calls us to trust. If we truly believe in the founding ideals of this nation, e pluribus unum, out of many one, then it is incumbent upon us to shoulder that responsibility which has been entrusted to us by our ancestors. The challenges that we face today are not new. Our ancestors have captured stories that help us to see the ways of the world and the natural tendencies that all of us humans have. And they've offered us roadmaps in the form of stories and fables and faith traditions and rituals to help us see what is happening when our stories become scary or when villains seem to be swooping in and ransacking our village. In moments of crisis, we need a faith that we believe that we can rely upon. A faith that we trust is strong enough to hold us through whatever storms life happens to throw at us. I, for one, believe that this faith is strong enough, but it's only as strong as our practice of it. So what does it really look like to practice the Unitarian Universalist faith? The good news is, if you're sitting in this room here today, you're already practicing this faith. It doesn't have to be complex. And if you've been a member for this community for 20 years, then you've got a lot of practice in this faith. Even if you're more of an atheist or a humanist and you don't even like being associated with the word faith, as long as you have been showing up here, you've been practicing your faith. You've put your faith in this community. And even if you've never once even thought about needing your faith, perhaps until this moment in history, the fact that you have been practicing this faith means that it is here for you now when you need it. And it is ready to give you what you need now that you realize you may need it because you've been practicing it for so long. What does it mean to be a practicing Unitarian Universalist? I had a little disagreement with a member at my last congregation about this. It was a friendly disagreement, but it was a disagreement based on this question. Can you be a practicing Unitarian Universalist on your own? Can you just be an individual in the world that says, I'm a Unitarian Universalist, that's what I do? Is this a faith that you can just claim as an individual but never really engage with collectively with others? My argument was no. For this faith to truly be experienced, it needs to be deployed in community. Now, my debate partner, for the record, is over 101 years old and has more energy than probably anybody in this room, and I respect her probably more than I respect most people that I've met along the way. But her premise was that, of course, you can be a Unitarian Universalist on your own. You just claim alignment with the principles, and poof, you're a UU. Well, maybe. But on a deeper level, the practice of this faith really does rely upon community. Because while anybody can say they seek to live their lives aligned with these UU values, our values are only valuable if they're applied collectively. Our newly defined pluralism value asks us to commit to learning from one another in our responsible search for truth and meaning. I can sit alone in a cabin in the woods and determine exactly what it is I think I need to be happy. But if I don't challenge myself to mix those thoughts in with others and then have my assumptions tested, then there is a very high likelihood that my thoughts about what are true for me are going to be a little biased towards my own comforts and may not include very much perspective about the impacts of my personal choices on others. We come to a church like this to have a safe space to practice having our perspectives challenged and expanded. And this particular community, this particular outlet of this faith tradition has been practicing this skill for over 25 years. We say that we support the use of the democratic process. That is not a process that can be effectively implemented on one's own. This church operates as a representative democracy. And if you've been here for some time, or even if you just showed up and you end up sticking around, You'll have the chance to practice that democratic process. I mean, generally, where else do you get to do that with people that you feel pretty safe with? I mean, you could do it at the school board, but then you might, then it can be scary. One of the newly professed values of this faith is transformation. This value is defined by the phrase, we adapt to a changing world. I will take an amen for that. That one goes on to say that we covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. This is one of the promises that you are making as a member of this faith tradition. You say that you are personally committed to trying to grow spiritually and ethically. Are you doing that? How would I know that? What does that look like in your life? Do you show up each week on Monday night at the Sangha that we hold? Do you regularly participate in one of the Soul Matter groups? Are you donating your time in some form of worthwhile service? Do you have a regular prayer practice? Or maybe journaling, or spending some amount of intentional time each day reveling in the beauty of nature. If I asked you what you are consistently doing to care for your spirit, would you have an answer for me? For this whole month, I'm going to be talking about nothing but trust. At a moment in history when all that we thought was solid and foundational about our world seems to be being torn asunder, having something in place that we know that we can trust becomes vital. And the good news is that this faith that many of you have been practicing for decades, is here for you. And this week we're talking about trusting ourselves. In upcoming weeks we'll talk about trusting others, and then trusting a process, and then rebuilding trust when it's broken. Trust is a big, important topic, so we're going to give it a good bit of exploration this month. But all of this, all that is to come about trust, all trust, needs to begin inside ourselves from a place of trusting ourselves. Trusting our experiences, even the hard ones, even the ones we're ashamed of. Trusting our intentions, our intuitions. Trusting our own judgment. Trusting our ability to know right from wrong, and then making good choices based on those perspectives. Now, here's the hard truth about people, and why that person thought placing the responsibility on each individual was terrifying. The truth is, we humans are not always awesome at aligning our actions with our stated intentions. We're just not. I want to lose weight. I want to save money. I want to donate more of my spare time to worthy endeavors. And then life happens, right? I just need a little extra snack. It's been a hard day. I really do need that new lawnmower. And yes, feeding the hungry is important, but I'm really tired. I need a break. We've all been there. There should be no judgments coming from this pulpit. I'm just reporting facts. Throughout history, sages and stories have noted that our actions just don't always line up with our intentions. That's reality. If we have any theology that isn't based in that reality, then we're kidding ourselves. We all need a little bit of help to do what we say we want to do sometimes. But that reality presents a bit of a problem. If I know that my actions, me, who I should trust the most, if I know that my actions are at least sometimes a little self-serving, and I can't always trust myself to do what I say I'm going to do, how can I ever trust those around me that they aren't going to take the easier self-serving path as well? And if they're not pulling their weight, why should I pull my own weight, right? This is the foundation upon which our entire society is grounded. It can become a vicious circle, leading to withdrawal and social isolation, just like we're seeing in our society now. Now, imagine if we rewind the tape and imagine a different scenario. Imagine we're a part of a community just like this one, where we are joined together with others, professing to hold a set of values and attempting to live our lives aligned with these values. Just showing up at church most weeks is a big deal. It moves you from being a person that says, I am trying to face the world alone, to a person that is on a journey with others. It changes your very definition of who you are. I am an individual. I am a person that goes to church. Just coming to church changes your whole relationship with the idea of community. And then this is where things really amplify. If you can just find one place here to lend a hand, all of a sudden you have just ramped up the trust amplifier to 11. Because no matter how you commit to help, no matter how small, maybe it's making coffee each week. And Mike, I know that's not small. You do it every week. It's big when you do it every week. But one time is not a big deal if you make coffee once a week. Or volunteer to hand out the programs at the door. Now that Jim's back, maybe we'll never need another volunteer if he's going to keep coming back every week. Or washing the dishes, or even just bringing a snack to church once in a while. The very act of committing to doing something for something bigger than yourself, and then doing it, exercises that responsibility muscle. You'll say you'll do something, and then life ends up lifing, and your car gets a flat tire, or your cat gets sick, or your schedule gets upended. But you've made this commitment, so you do what you need to do, and you end up fulfilling that commitment. And believe it or not, as hard as it was in that moment to do what you said you were going to do, but life got in the way, believe it or not, your body will give you a little dopamine hit. And you'll feel good for having kept that commitment. And even more importantly, the person or group that you made that commitment to will see that you made and kept that commitment. And they will feel good, knowing that they are a part of a community where folks say that they are going to do something, and then they do it. And that little transaction creates a feeling of safety when it's amplified over and over and over again in 1,000 little different ways. It really is that simple to practice this faith. Commit to something, anything outside of your own self-serving interests. Make that commitment to someone else. Fulfill that commitment. Repeat. Over time, what you end up with is a community of folks that realizes that they are not alone, and that has learned not only how to be trustworthy, but also remembered how to trust others. So if you are already contributing to this community in some way, I'll say this until I'm blue in the face, thank you. If you are new here, by all means, please find a way to commit some part of yourself to our shared efforts. I think, yes, Betsy's here. Betsy, raise your hand. Betsy can always help new people find their ways to connect. That's what she does. All right? We need all the help we can get. Honestly, the reason we have no RE class today is because there were no RE volunteers. Sign up with, where's Megan? Megan, okay, if you want to sign up to just one class a month. The kids aren't that scary, I swear. They come up here every Sunday. They seem a little scary, but after you do it a little bit, they're really fine. Whatever it is, any little bit that you can do to help is going to be helpful. We're not just making coffee. We're making healthy people and a healthy community, and ultimately, a more healthy society. The heaven we seek in this world is possible. There was a hymn they used to sing in my Catholic church of my upbringing that pretty much sums up my hopes today. It went, "Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Blessed be, and may it be so." Our closing words are titled "In the Dark" by Fred Lamott. When times are dark, the way becomes clear. Trust in your breath. Rest in your heart. Bow to the stranger. This is the gospel of astonishment. If we are completely lost, we come home to each other. Amen. I must admit, I haven't looked to see what's happening after church. I think there's a welcoming congregations meeting. Yes. Is there a second hour? Anyone? Bueller? Yeah. I'll stick around and talk about what we're talking about if anybody wants to stick around. There's a lot going on in the world these days. Take extra good care of yourselves. Take extra good care of each other. And one day at a time, we will get through all this. And we will come out on the other end stronger and better connected as a community, if nothing else. Amen.